Hey guys, this is Al Heck over at RenderReady.com, and today we're going to be UV unwrapping a face. It's actually really easy to do as long as you have the layout that we had in the previous tutorial with the bowling pin. So before you start this, go download that layout and get it set up. The tutorial shows you exactly how to do it within the first 3 minutes, and then you can jump back over here and get started with this tutorial because we're going to dive right into it. We should be done in around 10 minutes or so. So this is what our finished file is going to look like. This is going to be our UV matte face, and as you can see, the A, B, C, D's are all readable right in the front, and especially here. And in the back, yeah, it gets a little crazy, but more often than not, you're not really going to see any of the detail in the back because it's going to be covered with hair. It's going to be covered, just show a collar, and we're going to do some minor body paint on this later on to hide the seams and such. But what's really important is that a lot of these letters are of equal size all around the face, and so when we do apply our facial texture, it should be really easy to do. But of course, we don't really start off with models that look like this. We start off with things that look pretty awful. So let's begin this tutorial and we'll fix it from there. Now, just to let you know, most of the plugins to do this tutorial are available in Cinema 4D, but there is one in particular, which is a smoothing brush that is not at this current point. So, if you do want to use a smoothing brush, which I do later on, there is this website right here. It's a private developer, and he has a brush tool in it that is really good for body paint. It's €40, so it shouldn't be that much, especially if you purchase Cinema 4D already and you really want to get into body painting and body sculpting. And so it's definitely cool to support the indie developer right here, and I'm going to be using this, so when I do get to this UV Bunk plugin and you're wondering where that is, it is a purchasable plugin on this website, code.vonk.fr. Okay, so let's get started with this UV unwrapping of this individual. This was a model provided in Cinema 4D, and it's of a head. It's actually very well textured in the actual content browser, but here we've messed everything up. We've destroyed the UVs, and now we're going to go fix it. So the first thing I would do to unwrap this head right here is segment the different parts of the head from the neck and the base. And what I would also do is, I don't really need a lot of straightforward detail on the back of the head. All I'm really concerned about so far is this front face area right here. So to do that, we would just go to our line mode, and we have this path selection tool right here. So I'm going to go take my path selection tool, and I'm going to outline the face. So I'm just going to draw a line right here, draw a line over here, and down to the ears. And we're going to unwrap our ears separately. So we can go to our loop tool right there and just select right around the ear here and here. Then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take my what is this called? This path selection tool, and I'm going to carve, and I'm going to make sure I get all the edge right here, connect it from one end to the other. I'm going to carve underneath his chin, because sometimes when you do the head with the neck, the chin gets very disproportionate. So I know this face is going to be one slice, and I'm going to give some pressure, a cut right here, and I'm also going to give a cut right here and right here, and this is going to relieve some of that stretching that we're going to have. It's going to kind of like cut the flap open so the chin doesn't get so compressed, the cheeks don't get so compressed, and we managed to maintain an equal amount of distribution of UVs across the entire face. Then I'm going to do the back of the head. So I'm going to connect right here, right here from the base of the head all the way around, just by holding shift, and as you hold shift you can connect more of the head together. And I definitely want to Probably give it a good slice right down the middle, so when it unfolds, it unflaps completely. And then I'm going to want to slice down the back of the neck, because you really won't see any detail in the front of the neck. Or you're going to see all your details in the front of the neck, but you're really not going to be looking so much at the back of the neck. And whatever is back here, we can fix later on. So that would be my first thing that I would do. And then I would go to our Polygon Selection mode, and I'd select everything. And then I would go to my front display and hit Frontal, and then go to Relax. Now I got this pin to point selection. So what we're going to do is in point mode right here, and let me go back to this 3D mode. I want to pin here and here, and I want to use these 2 points as kind of like to tell the computer, I want you to unwrap everything around these 2 points. So if I didn't pin those, and I'll show you the two different results, and I just hit apply, you see how this is kind of disproportionate up here, the face. Now if I go back and I set my pins back up here and here, and then I go back to my frontal mode, now you see that my pins locked on and my face and eyes are even at this point, which is exactly what we want. Now in our optimal mapping, what we want to do is select this section right here. So I've got to go to that part, this UV and this UV. We're going to select those, and then we're going to turn off preserve orientation so that they'll rotate. And I'm going to look at this. This is still kind of uneven a little bit, so I'm going to select this particular section, which is this back of his scalp, and I'm going to frontal project that, and then I'm going to relax it, and that will give me a little bit of a better even distribution of UVs. And I'm going to do kind of the same thing with his body, where I'm going to select all these, and you see how this left side is a lot more larger than the right side. So I'm going to try this projection again. So I'm going to go frontal, and I'm going to go apply, and you see how it kind of evened everything out a little bit. It looks more like a pair of butterfly wings. That's kind of what we want. Now I'm going to select my 2 ears, and I'm going to go, let's say, to the frontal direction. I'm going to go frontal and then relax. Yeah, I see one is blowing up a lot bigger than the other. So let's go this way. Frontal, relax. Good. Now they look similar, and I can realign it, and now all the 4 elements look really close. Now I'm going to hit preserve orientation so that they lock into place. And there's a couple things that I want to do with my UV, particularly with the face right here. So I'm going to go UW, and what I want to do is up here we have these 3 buttons right here. This third one is called Hide Unselected. This is going to allow me to just focus in on the face, because I'm going to do a little bit of work right here to make sure that all my UVs are correct. Because you see how the nose squished down, the mouth squished down like this? It's primarily because the mouth keeps going inside here. And we don't really want this to happen, because once we decide to drop in our face, everything's going to get sucked into here, and it's not going to be very even, and it's going to affect the eyes as well. So what I'm going to want to do is go back to this 3D mode, and I'm going to go to my point mode, and I'm going to pin points in a loop. So go to my point mode and use my loop selection. And the areas that I know are going to have the most trouble that I'm going to want to do myself are the eyes. So I'm going to just select the eye sockets. And this mouth, I just want to select the lip area right there. And then I'm going to go back to the frontal view, and I'm going to do a frontal projection, and kind of lost it there, so I'll hit this button right here, which is a fit to screen, which brings it back. And then I'm going to hit apply, and it's going to stretch everything out again, But now you're going to notice that my lips maintained its shape. Same thing with my eyes. But we're going to have some overlap in these areas. But it did exactly what it was supposed to do. So how do we fix this? How do we fix this kind of yucky area right here? So what I'm going to do is go ahead and go back to my 3D mode. And then I'm going to go to my Polygon Selection mode. And I'm going to hit a loop selection. And I want to loop around the lips. Then I want to select this fill selection mode. And I want to fill in everything inside the lips. And I'm going to do the same thing with the loop selection around the eye sockets. And then I'm going to fill it in. So those are the 3 areas that I want to focus in on, that I want to clean. So we talked about this plugin earlier. So if you've installed this plugin, it should be called Bunk. If you turn it on, it has your polygons that we're working with highlighted. So there's this brush right here, and I don't know what exactly it's called, but it actually is like a brush that smooths everything out, smooths your UVs. So I can just brush onto here, and you'll see that my UVs start to distribute evenly. So you can compare one eye to the other and how they're both very different. So I'm going to use this plugin to fix my UV. And you'll definitely see it around the mouth. I'll do it on the right side. So you can see how the right side of the mouth smooths out, whereas the left side of the mouth is still kind of conflicting and covering itself over. Once you're done with that, go ahead and select off. Then you're pretty much, in my opinion, done with the face. We don't have to really do anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and select this button, which is called Unhide All. And then I'm going to select all my UVs in this section, and I'm just going to hit Optimal Mapping, Preserve Orientation, and Realign. And that's going to realign everything to the best size possible. So the last pieces of this UV unwrap are really the ears. So I'm going to select these 2, hit U and W so that it selects all in those areas. And then I'm going to hide everything else, which is hide unselected. So that will allow me to focus strictly on the ears itself. So what we're going to do is a real simple cut with loops. So I'm going to go right around the ridge of this ear. And the reason why I want to do it is because, there's a lot of folds in here. So trying to flatten it out, it's kind of difficult to do without actually doing some cuts. But if we slice it up a little bit, which is not going to affect us body paint wise, it'll make the UV mapping a lot more, the workflow a lot better. So you could see with this loop tool, I can drag it along, and it's going to try to find the path to do a loop. I want to cut out this inside part and let it stand on its own. So then it gives me kind of a tube here and a tube here. Then I want to create a loop around this ear because I know that it goes out and then inside. And you see that loop right there. It goes all the way around the ear pretty much and wraps all the way around. And then I'm going to create a point cut, which is, what is this, a path selection cut? And I'm going to drag my line across. So I know that this ribbon of flesh right here is going to unravel. And then I'm going to take my, I'm going to clean up this line because I don't need this center section to cut. And then I'm going to cut it in this front area right here. Oh, let's do this path because this is more of a visible path. Okay? So now that I've done that, let me show you how this is going to unfold right here. So if I go to my UV mode, my selection tools, UW, and then I go to my side view, and I do a projection, which is frontal, and then I relax. Make sure my cut edges, selected edges are turned on. So here's what happened. It cut the outside of the ear, then it cut 2 strips of flesh, and then it cut the center node. Now the UVs are a lot more, and then if you go on inside, you see how we're not going to have too many overlapping UVs here, which is exactly what we're looking for. So with that done, I'm going to set this over, got to select these modes, the UV mode. I'm going to select E and move this right ear over here, and I'm going to move over to the left ear. I'm going to do kind of the same thing. Go to knife and select my loop, and I'm going to cut the ear so it goes pretty much all the way around, and then I want to cut this part of the ear so that it pretty much is like this circular area right here, kind of just exists on its own but doesn't affect any of the other UV strips. And then I want to take my path selection and I want to cut a line so that the UV is a little smaller from this connecting area, and then let's go to this outer exterior area and cut that, and we should be good there as well. So I'm going to go to my poly mode. I'm going to go to my selection tool, select this face, press UW, and then I'm going to go to my right view, frontal, relax, do some realigning, and then I'm going to select all of these and hit apply to realign. But I'm not going to preserve the orientation now. I'm going to hit apply to realign, and what I want to do is go to my polygon UV mode, and I know this strip matches that strip. So I want to make sure that these are of a similar angle. Right? And then from here, let's go ahead and select everything, go to a preserve the orientation, and you can see now that, we got one strip up here, one strip out here, the 2 center points, and the rest of everything else. So now we just hit the unhide all, and we have our whole face. Go ahead and select all and select realign, but preserve your orientation. And now it fits the ear where the size of the ear is correct in comparison to the rest of the head, but also all the other flaps of the head are still there. So that should be pretty much it. So to verify, let's double check this and make sure we're doing this correctly. So go ahead and to the materials tab down here and just drop this material onto your scene. And let's go ahead and check everything out. So we got good things going on right here. You see A, B, C, D, E, F, the 1s and the 2s, and here about the same size as the ones down here. And we really pay attention to the face. So this is really important to make sure this looks correct. But then when we get into the back of the head, we have some difficulties right here. So one of the biggest issues is that these numbers are upside down. So select these, press U and W, which are these UVs right here. And there's a real quick way to fix this. In UV commands, choose mirror vertical and then mirror U, and that's going to shift the UVs so that we see them vertically and they're facing the correct direction. Now that we have that set, let's just kind of zoom in on the ears. You can see the 5 right there, so we're good there. And it looks like this particular one may be reversed. So go ahead and UW and then go ahead and reverse it. And now I see the number 7 right there. So we're all good in this area right here now. Well, that's it for UV unwrapping a face. Next tutorial should be a little more complicated and very interesting. So this is Al Heck, and thank you again for your time.